The violence really only seems to be escalating there, too. I want to show you some footage. This is courtesy of El Farg, and this is a horrifying moment when what is believed to be a police vehicle, it was toppled off of a bridge in Cairo. And Sabrina, you know, I mean, it's so hard to say, but obviously these clashes seem to highlight how fractious the situation is in the country right now. Anything that observers or, or politicians are saying in terms of who might have power once these violent flare-ups subside?
Well, it's not entirely clear. Observers, I think, at the moment certainly have, many have from the beginning characterized what transpired there as a military coup, and the actions of this interim government certainly underscore to a lot of critics that this was, in fact, a coup, and they're following up with this crackdown that we've seen and the escalation of violence that you mentioned. The world is sort of watching, and it's only putting more and more pressure on this interim government to follow through on its promise to hold fair and democratic elections sooner rather than later. Of course, they promised that those would take place, but this is casting a lot of doubt on their intentions, whether or not they could be trusted to follow up on that promise, and how they're going to certainly operate. And what their relations will be with those who have supported Morsi, who opposed his ouster, and a lot of the civilians, of course, who have been protesting on either side. I think that those images you mentioned are very harrowing. It's not entirely clear whether there were officers in the vehicle that was thrown from the bridge. Though there were bodies of security officials in later pictures nearby the vehicle once it had been on the ground. It's really, I think, a shocking glimpse of how quickly this situation has gotten out of control. And I think it's a little too early maybe to make any kind of determination as to which side might have the upper hand. Certainly right now, I think but there is a lot of scrutiny being cast on the interim government and how it's been handling these protests.
Yeah, let me just finish this up with a tweet here from Samantha Power, who's the UN ambassador, who just said, all Egyptians must work to prevent further violence. A peaceful, inclusive process is the route to peace and stability. Force is not the answer.